Hello class, welcome to RES5153 Research Methods. This is my favorite course out of all of the courses that I teach. Of course, I love doing research myself. So you're in the right place with the right instructor, all right? So not that I'm bragging on myself, okay? But seriously, I really love this course and I love working with my students. If you've had me before, you should, hopefully you had a great experience. So here, this particular week and every week I'm going to be doing the same thing. I'll focus on, the elephant in the room, the major assignment that you're going to be doing each week. So you're going to be doing it. This is like scaffolding. And so you'll be building one piece on top of the next piece. And so this week, as it relates to an action research proposal that you'll be building, ultimately it will be 10 pages or even more than that for that matter. But not this week. You're not doing 10 pages, so don't panic, okay? You'll be fine. For this week, the first thing they want you to do is to review and access the Action Research Proposal Overview page. Look at that. Go to your Learning Objects page and review that. And I'm going to come back at the end and I'm going to show you a sample paper of what you're going to do for this week. So that will give you a more visual idea of what I'm looking for. You definitely want to be very careful with this piece here, the APA formatting. I am very concise when it comes to that. Why? Because I don't want you to leave my class not knowing certain things. So I don't want you to, just be ready. I want to try to prepare you really for the future for any other classes, and I don't want you to lose any points for that matter. So when it comes to APA, yes, your margins have to be 1 inch. You got to have a page numbers in the upper right hand corner. You need to have headings above each section, which we'll discuss that in just a second. You got to have your in-text citations that should be flowing throughout the body of the paper, not all of them down in the conclusion of the paper. No, you got to have your citations that flow throughout, in-text citations, and then finally you got to have your reference page, which is at the very end. It goes after the last body page. Again, I'll show that to you in just a second. So the first thing you're going to do here is identify a problem. Wait a minute, let me back up. Let me start with something that is extremely important real quickly. Do not plagiarize. Let me say that one more time. Do not plagiarize. And number 2, do not quote excessively. Okay, why? Because both of them, well, the first one can really get you into a lot of trouble, no doubt. But the second one, as far as quoting is concerned, every time you quote, it increases your Turnitin score. I don't like to see a lot of quotes in papers. If I can catch it early enough before the deadline, I'm going to send it right back to you and say, hey, I want to hear your voice. I want to see how you understand it, how you can move, from lower order thinking really to higher order thinking, how you can articulate that in a way that is more applicable for this problem that you're trying to solve here in this paper. Okay, so don't plagiarize. I would avoid quoting altogether. Okay, you got to understand how to use quotes at the right time. You may be able to get away with 1 or 2 of them, small quotes, one-liners. Okay, but you don't want to do that excessively because again, you want to keep your turn-in percentage below 20%. Just that quick reminder. All right, so you got to identify a problem here, and make sure it's a problem that you're passionate about. Something in your environment, wherever you're teaching, or if you're not in a teaching environment, if you're in the corporate world or some other environment, you can still write this paper, okay? Identify some kind of problem, some kind of concern, something you're passionate about. Like for me, I'm passionate about the best practices of designing an online course, okay? Because oftentimes the biggest mistake is teachers try to design their online courses that look like they're face-to-face courses, and they are totally different. So you got to figure out what that problem is. So identify that problem. All right, so, and I'm not going to read all of this, and then you're going to gather your evidence as it relates to going and looking in research, making observations in your classroom or whatever, or other classrooms, talking to your colleagues. You got to do all of that. All right. And then you're going to discuss the problem in a problem statement. Now, I'll show you the headings at the very end of this that should be definitely in this paper, because if they're not in there, I'm going to end up counting off for that. So you have to have headings in this paper that will be flowing from this week all the way until the very end of the class. All right. So in a well-developed paragraph, you need to clearly state what the problem is. Make sure that problem statement is in the very first sentence of that paragraph. And it needs to start this way. The problem is. Make sure you identify the problem. Again, I'll come back to that when I show you the sample paper in just a second. Same thing with the purpose statement. After you make, let me go back. After you make the problem statement, then you elaborate on that problem. Same thing here with the purpose statement. After you make it, this is the first thing that should be in that paragraph. The purpose is, tell me what the purpose is, and then you elaborate on that purpose. All right. And then you're going to develop your research questions. And here are some examples here. Again, I'm going to show you some examples that will be more specific in the sample paper. And then you'll write a paragraph introducing the research questions in that section there of your paper. And of course, they have some examples in the learning objects page. All right. And then there is the alignment table that you need to include. Again, I'm going to show you what that looks like. It's very simple. Your problem statement should go here, your purpose statement goes there, and then your research questions go there. And you want to make sure that they are aligned, that they are all pointing. The problem statement points to the research questions. The purpose statement points to the research questions, and vice versa. And then you'll get to the end and you will conclude. You can either put conclusion or you can even put summary for the heading for that. And these are the headings that I was talking about. Once again, they mention the importance of APA, in-text citations, and references. Let me scroll down. Make sure you look at the rubric every week. It is very, very important. Notice how concise and specific this rubric is. All right. So you have to make sure you have everything in here that they're looking for. All right. So make sure that you review the rubric. We tell our students to do that all the time. Now it's our turn, or it's your turn. This is what I want you to do. Here's a sample paper. All right, so notice here, this is the cover page. You got to have a cover page. I'm going to scroll down. Notice the page numbers in the upper right-hand corner. Like I mentioned, all of your different APA style formatting requirements. First line indentation. See that heading there? Introduction. Let's keep going. I just love this paper because even in the introduction, this student included citations. Here's a problem statement. Notice the problem statement. This is what I want to point out real quickly. Be careful with it. The problem is a teacher shortage in the Pendergast Elementary School District in Phoenix, Arizona. That's it. I love it. That's a problem statement. Do not, remember this, with a problem statement as well as a purpose statement, do not add a conjunction. If you have to add a conjunction in that purpose or problem statement, actually you're probably talking about two different things or more than one problem, in other words. Because I've seen problem statements that will say the problem is teacher shortage and whatever, violence in schools or whatever, okay? Or overcrowded. Those are two different things. So you can only deal with one problem. You only want to tackle one problem. Trust me on this, because if you start talking about two different things, then now you got to go and research two different things, and you don't have time to do that. Only one problem. And then after you make the problem statement like this student did, you elaborate on the problem statement. Now you can talk about whatever, all the other issues that are connected to that problem. All right. Then, again, love this purpose, the purpose of the study. Notice the heading, and then notice the very first line. Here's the purpose statement. The purpose of this study will be to create solutions, which is normally that's what a purpose statement is going to do, to end teacher shortage in that particular school. And then she started elaborating on that purpose statement. Research questions. That's that paragraph that they required. Remember that I just read. Here are the research questions. You got to have at least 3 of them. If I'm not mistaken, let me go back. I just want to clarify something, because I remember last time I taught this course, they said you can have 2 to 3. And I'm seeing it's saying, yeah, it says 3. So make sure you have 3 research questions. All right. And notice 1 is closed-ended. This first one is, but these 2 are open-ended. A closed-ended question would be, is your name Harold Fisher? That's a closed-ended question. The answer is going to be yes or no, right? So that's a closed-ended question. An open-ended question is going to force you or force someone to elaborate. Okay, so these 2 are going to force you to elaborate. In other words, when you start looking in the literature next week, when you start doing your research, these 2, all 3 of them are going to help you. Don't get me wrong. But a open-ended question forces critical thinking. It forces problem solving. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Don't you just hate that interview question? But anyway, but you got to be prepared. So there's a table, the alignment table, that they want you to have as well. There is one piece that is missing from this paper. I just realized this sample paper, because down here, they said complete your table, and I know I read it somewhere. It says to elaborate. Check the alignment of the table, design your own table, blah, blah, blah. Research questions align. Answer the questions yes. Oh, maybe not. They took it out. Okay, good. I was going to say, maybe there should have been some elaboration there, but it's not. Don't worry about it. But yeah, you just put your your problem statement, purpose statement, research questions, and you want to look to see if they are pointing at each other. Are they aligned? And then there's a summary statement, which is the conclusion, and then notice the references. I want to see, at some point, I do know you're going to see it in the rubric. It's going to say that you included a variety of scholarly sources. Obviously, this student did their work with that, because 1 reference is not enough. Okay, 2, that's not enough. You got to go far more. The fastest way to build a paper, by the way, is to use multiple sources. So go and look in the library database and utilize that database and look at as many sources as possible. Students always ask me, how many sources? As many as possible. Trust me, you can build your paper so much quicker, so much faster if you utilize a lot of different sources. And I know this student did, because I can clearly see it as I scroll through and I see all these different citations that are in there. The student did their homework. Okay, 1, you already know, is not enough. 2 is not enough. You got to go way beyond that. Notice again what they put in this paper. They use several, and I love it. All right, so if you have any questions, any concerns, if you need to meet with me, I will set up it's called Calendar. You can get on my calendar and we can meet one-on-one in a virtual, in a Zoom session. If you need help, if you want me to kind of look at your paper before you submit it. Now, please don't wait until the last minute to do this. But if you have a draft of it and you want to make sure you're on the right path, you can always get on my calendar and we can hook up together in Zoom. I can set up a Zoom for you, and to make sure. I definitely do that more so in the last week of class. Last week of class, I will set up a session in the Q&A where you can submit, and I'll let you know, but that's not during the first 4 weeks. All right, so if you have any questions, any concerns, let me know. I think I covered everything. Please make sure, one more thing, make sure you look at the announcement. I don't have it up at the moment, but let me pull it up right here. Okay, so real quickly here in the announcement, the late policy, the urgent note that I put in here, and then the academic dishonesty, you need to please make sure you look at that very closely, especially when we get into the last week of class. There is no work that is accepted after the last day of class. That's school policy. I cannot change that, except in the case of extenuating circumstances. But you need to go and look at the syllabus and read, whether or not, if your situation qualifies for extenuating circumstances. So make sure you look at those policies. Those I cannot. I tend to give grace in other areas, but when it comes to this, I cannot bend, the policy. So just wanted to let you know. All right, if you have any questions, any concerns, let me know. I'm here for you.